Hello everyone, it's CreativeNameToStandOut again with another battle report, and this time I bring you a game between my Chaos, a force made up of both the Pirate Legion and the Blood Slaves, versus an opponent's Dispossessed, or otherwise known as the Jordan. So this is our game 3 of our linked campaign. This will be the final game also. And in our last scenario, we had the Blood Warriors trying to flee off the board with a Jordan artifact, and they just weren't able to. The only thing left for the Jordan were these helicopters that were just way more maneuverable, and he was able to just mirror my moves to where we were in turn 9 before we decided to make it just like, we'll just end the game right here. And at the same time, I had a unit of 15 Blood Warriors that had a 4+ save, 2 wounds each, and an additional 4 up against any wounds inflicted. So they were incredibly durable, to say the least. So after 9 turns, we were like, this is a draw, we'll continue it next time. So in this scenario, it is a continuation of the flight of the Blood Warriors. So they're going to start in the middle of the board, continuing to flee back to their main lines, and at the same time, the gyrocopters and gyro bombers will be nearby, harassing them, and it's giving the Jordan enough time to form another army and make it up on the scene. So across the table, though, is the main battle line from where the Chaos Warriors originally came from. And there we have Kekus the Pyromancer on a pedestal, enacting a terrible, terrible spell, trying to get that artifact to him and reinvigorate it with the power so that they can carry out that dastardly plan they had meant to originally had they just got off the board fast enough. So the artifact now is inert, so my guys do not have the special abilities from the last scenario, and we're trying to get to that artifact to the pedestal so that we can reinvigorate it. Now, once it gets to the pedestal, if I can get it there, I roll a dice, and on a 6 or better, I win the game. However, in the interest of making it not just a randomly 1 in 6 chance, Kekus will be able to cast a spell each turn instead of any of his normal spells, and on a 5 up, he can improve that roll by 1. So if I can cast it 2 times, I get +2 to the roll, and at the end of the game, on a 4 up, I will successfully cast that spell. So that's how the scenario is going to work. He's going to try to keep me from getting to the pedestal. I'm going to try to get there when I can, and at the end of the game, hopefully, as long as Kekus stays on the pedestal and casts that spell, I can improve my chances enough where I'm going to pull it out. So that's the scenario as we have it. So let's jump into turn 1. The Jordan get the first turn, which is probably for the best. Jordan are very, very slow. My Blood Warriors are 36 inches away from the tower, so if I ran 1 inch in addition to my walk each turn, it would take me till the 6th turn to get there if I'm left unimpeded, if none of the helicopters delay me any. However, I doubt I'm going to roll that poorly throughout the game, so if I rolled the best, which is 6, and I end up moving 11 inches a turn, I should get there probably around turn 3 or turn 4 if I'm unimpeded. So that being said, I think it's a good balance that gives me some time to get there. It gives my opponent some options in delaying me, and the game won't be immediately over. So that's how the game's going to roll, and luckily for him, he'll get the first turn and be able to start reacting as quickly as possible. And one of the first things he's going to do is use that Realm Gate to bring the Thunderers across the board to behind my lines, as you can see here. Here's what it looks like after all movement is completed, and that's when we get into the shooting phase. So the Thunderers who teleported across the board take aim at my fastest unit, which are the Screamers, and obliterates them. There's so many shots. I think there's 20 to 30 guys there. So it was a well-placed target to take down. That was my fastest unit. Next, he takes some pot shots with the various helicopters across the board at the Blood Warriors, and with these Jordan that have the guns, I forget what they're called, they take aim, and lucky for me, I only lose 2 and transfer a wound. And then finally, one of the helicopters that were a little bit further forward, I think there might have been 2 that were further forward, took some shots at Keikus the Pyromancer, and I escaped with only taking 2 wounds, so got lucky there. He could have easily assassinated him first turn if he had rolled just a little bit better. So that's the end of that, and we go into my turn. Now, my more immediate goals is definitely to take out those gyrocopters and gyro bombers. Just like last game, they're probably just going to get in the way, prevent my Blood Warriors from taking the most direct route, and ultimately keeping them from getting there before turn 6. So I need to knock them out, and that's what I'm going to send some of my Chaos Warriors to do here and there, and hopefully my ranged shooting from the Flamers will help out also. It's kind of sucky that those Screamers died so early. They would have been helpful since they're also as fast as those gyrocopters, but what are you going to do? Other than that, our other objective is to pretty much get my main battle line in front of and start screening my Blood Warriors as they're falling back. As soon as I can do that, the safer I'll feel about getting them over to the pedestal. At the same time, however, as you can see from last turn, he is going to be able to take a unit per turn and just throw them into my backfield. It's pretty dangerous to have those Thunders come out and wipe out a unit in one strike, so I do need to keep some stuff back there to play the backfield, and I think I'm going to do that with the Skull Reapers, and right now they are moving towards those Thunders. So those are pretty much my 3 immediate goals. One I guess is a little bit more long term, but otherwise that's the plan. In the shooting phase, I have these Flamers target one of the bombers, and I'm able to take them down thanks to their special ability that inflicts some mortal wounds afterwards. And then from there, we declare some charges. So unfortunately, this turn, my Blood Warriors don't get in combat, and neither do my Skull Reapers. And they were, I think, were like 3 inches away, and I rolled double ones for them. So that was a little too bad, a little unfortunate there. However, I did get the Warriors and one of the spawn into combat with the gyro attack copters, or gyrocopters themselves. And I was able to do quite a few wounds to both of them, but not enough to knock either one out of the sky. So that's, again, not the best. I did do a little bit of damage here and there, but I didn't get everything I was hoping to get done, which was mainly to completely wipe things out. So we kind of stuttered a step here, but hopefully I'll get that next turn and I can maybe finish off what I've started. Ah, yes, the all-important consecutive turn. I do win the roll-off. I'm going to get a chance to redeem myself. I am very lucky when it comes to this opponent and we roll for initiative. I generally win it way more than I'm supposed to. But I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to point it out and then use it to my advantage. So here we have Keikus again. In the last turn, I failed to mention it. He casts the spell that improves his odds of getting the ritual off. So now I'm at a 5-up. I'm going to do that same spell this turn, but I'm going to ultimately fail. However, I failed with the doubles roll, and what that means is the Sorcerer Lord, no matter if it's a success or a failure, if I roll a doubles, I get a second spell. And I cast Arcane Bolt at the closest attack copter, the gyrocopter. I don't know why I keep on calling it an attack copter. And I managed to do a wound. Not enough to kill it, but I put another wound into it. So with that, we go into the movement phase. The Skull Reapers move towards the Quarrelers. They're definitely all going to get in combat as long as I make the charge. And then over on the other side, I run my Blood Reavers up the field to get closer to those main lines so the Blood Warriors can just use them as a screen. So after that, we go into the shooting phase. The Flamers whiff. I think they target the bomber that's in cover, so he has a pretty good armor save there. And then Keikus from the pedestal uses his staff to shoot down and destroy that attack copter that he targeted before. Again, I meant to say gyrocopter. I'm going to say that all battle report apparently. So from there, we go into combat, and the Blood Reavers get in, or the Skull Reapers get in. So I'm expecting to do a lot of damage here. Unfortunately, Jordan usually get to reroll their armor saves thanks to the Jordan shield, and that kind of blunts my attack. I only end up killing 3. That's not great at all, especially since this unit can shoot and attack. So, this is going to be bad. I might need to bring back my Pyre Legion warriors that are close by after they take out that copter. Which they do. They do take that copter down, so now there's no more gyrocopters on my left flank of the field. So now I guess I need to pull them back. They're going to be my backup to protecting my backfield. So that's what the turn looks like after I go in the second turn, and we now move into the Jordan next turn. In turn 2, the Jordan General has his eyes on taking out my War Shrine, and that's sad because what he sends across the board at it is definitely going to take it out. He takes his finest warriors, the hammers, and transports them using the Realm Gate. Yep, and my War Shrine will probably die. Meanwhile, on the other side of the board, the rest of the army moves as fast as their stubby legs will take them to try to catch up with those fleeing Blood Warriors. And I think his bomber flies over the Blood Warriors and drops a bomb. I don't think it actually does any wounds. In the shooting phase, we have the Thunders rip into my Skull Reapers, killing over half of them. The bright side is now I get to reroll all my missed hits. Of course, I would have liked to have gotten that bonus through my own killing, but I'll take the bonus if I can get it. So going forward, they're going to be a little bit better in combat. And speaking of combat, the Thunderers are not as well equipped for that, so he doesn't do any wounds at all. Unfortunately, the same goes for myself. And we go into the other combat where we see the Hammers charging into the Warshrine, and here I get very lucky. He rolls poorly on all the phases of the game, and then I pull out some crazy sixes for my armor saves, and I end up taking a healthy amount of wounds, but I still have the Warshrine, which is good enough for me. So that's where we stand at the end of Jordan 2, and now we're going to roll off to see who gets the next turn. Of course, the Chaos Forces were going to win because I'm rolling it against him, and here we have an overview of the board. So I move everything I can forward except for the Blood Warriors, who are still retreating, and we have my Chaos Pyre Legion Warriors on the right flank turning around and trying to help out whatever is going to be left with those Skull Reapers and the Thunderers. We go into combat. We have my spawn. Both of them have charged this one bomber over here. I'm able to do a couple wounds to it, but I'm not able to kill it. We then want to move over to the combat with the Thunderers and my Skull Reapers. And you can see that I actually start doing some damage here. I kill a lot of his guys. He is, though, because of his numbers, able to take down one more of my Skull Reapers. But yeah, remember this started at 20, and it looks like there might only be half of them left at this point. And then finally, we go into the combat with the Warshrine, and I had another unit of Pyre Legion Warriors try to help out that Warshrine. I attacked with them first. I'm able to kill the Thunders down, or not the Thunders, the Hammers down to only a few guys. But those last remaining guys are able to knock my Warshrine down to just one wound. So it's limping around and probably won't last another turn. So here we are in turn 3, and the Jordan King and his entourage can just see the Blood Warriors, almost have them in their grasp. But they got to take care of these Reavers first. Usually not a problem. Under any circumstance, they're not a problem. My opponent just doesn't have the time to deal with these fools. And unfortunately for him, one of those Blood Reaver units, I think it's the unit closest to the Blood Warriors, has Inspiring Presence. So when he gets into combat with that unit, he needs to kill all 10 of them, or he's going to be tied down into combat. A combat he just doesn't want to be in because he needs to catch up to my Blood Warriors. However, my opponent is thinking a couple turns ahead. He says to his Iron Drakes, retreat to the Realm Gate, and so that's what they do. They're preparing themselves for next turn so they can transport across the board. Excellent unit to do that with, since they have a great threat range with their shooting attacks. And then he also parks his helicopter, the last one, the one I wasn't able to kill yet, in between my Blood Warriors and the objective. And he puts it in a spot where there's a tight squeeze, so I can't go south anymore towards the objective. I now have to start moving a little horizontally and then down. So that's going to buy his units a couple more turns, maybe an extra turn of movement to catch up. And that's a great play by my opponent. Of course, now I definitely need to kill this copter, because if he does that again, I'm probably going to lose the game just on the fact that I can't get there in time. So that leads us into the combats. And the first combat he's going to choose is the Hammers versus the Warshrine. He only has to do one wound to it. He's going to do that easy. Kills off the Warshrine. Now later on, I will choose, of course, the Warriors to attack. They will kill off all the Hammers except for one. But the first combat I choose to activate is the Skull Reaper versus his Thunderers. Now, I'm down to one last guy, and what ended up being a very bad starting combat with my 5 Skull Reapers ends up pretty crazy here at the end. He is down to just his champion. That last combat, my champion's just able to kill so many guys, but when you're rerolling to hit and rerolling to wound, I think those things just tend to happen. So turn it around here. It's very exciting now with just the champion on champion. And then, of course, we have the combat where his general had charged into the Skull Reapers. I believe his other warriors trying to make the charge too. They just rolled double ones. But the general gets in there against the unit that has Inspiring Presence and kills 9. 9 guys. He needed to kill 10, and he's stuck in combat with me, and I'm not going to run because I have Inspiring Presence. And on top of all that, my champion actually is able to do a wound. So, yippee! That's like icing on the cake there. But let's get back to reality. After I retreat my Blood Warriors some more towards the pedestal, the Jordan King kills off my champion, so there was no way that was going to go any other way. In other news across the battlefield, the spawn makes it into one of the Jordan units that were trudging across the right flank. My warriors are able to finish off that last stubborn hammerer. In the contest of champions, the Skull Reaper is able to claim the skull of that last Thunderer, the champion himself. And then Kordos, the Skull Grinder, thinks he can take out a helicopter, but he soon realizes his chain isn't long enough to reach the thing, so he completely whiffs. And that pretty much ends my turn, and we go into Jordan turn 4. So here we go into turn 4, and this is a pretty decisive turn. So when we look across the board, we can say that the main battle line of the Jordan has been trying to catch up to the Blood Warriors, and they just haven't been able to. The right flank has just not been in a good position the whole game. He kind of went straight forward rather than going at a diagonal towards the Blood Warriors, so they just were never going to get to them. And then on the left flank, they were catching up, but then the Reavers got in their way and they failed a key charge. So though that part of the Jordan army has been, unfortunately, a non-factor in this game. They could have been, but it just hasn't worked out so well. However, he has been transporting some key units into my backfield, which has pretty much divided my attention, and I haven't been able to kill off all the copters and bombers. And in this turn, well, I guess in last turn, when Kordos failed to kill that bomber, it's going to play a pivotal role going forward. So in this turn, he's going to retreat with the bomber. He's going to move the bomber in between the archway and the pedestal, meaning I can't bring my Blood Warriors through there, and it's going to cause me to have to run around the archway once again, and that's going to cost me big time. That's going to be my turn 5. I'm not going to be able to get to the pedestal in time for a turn 6 hero phase, meaning I can't win at all. So it's unfortunate that's how the game's going to end up being, but you know, that's what happens when I don't prioritize my targets and I leave one of those bombers alive too late. But we do go ahead and carry out through the rest of the game. What I'm going to do here is just finish off this combat before I end the battle report. So some pretty cool things happen here. His unit and his unforged tackle, the Reavers, is easily able to wipe them out. Now the unit that's gotten the furthest across the board is the Dwarf Lord. He's definitely in range to finally engage the Blood Warriors, but first he needs to make it through these Flamers, and he just completely whiffs against Flamers. Not too hard to kill them, but he manages to do that. So he's stuck. We go into my turn. I actually light him up with the Flamers, end up killing him, so that's how his general dies. Otherwise, he just starts pushing across the board, but what ends up happening is that one movement with the bomber at the key time makes me detour, and it's going to cost me the game. So it was a fun game. I really enjoyed it. I should have just prioritized. It was still going to be close anyways, given how far away I was, and I haven't been rolling too well with my runs, but I still had a chance up until that point. Up until Kordos just not making that kill, I still had a chance to win. And so that's pretty much the end of the game. So I know I've been on a long hiatus when it came to battle reports. I want to get back into the saddle. I bought myself a new microphone. I have better lighting in my basement. The picture quality should go up a lot because of that. So I really appreciate you guys that have stuck with the channel. I know one of you out there checks every day. You tell me all the time. So here's my commitment to becoming more regular once again. So with that, I hope you enjoyed it again. Please feel free to like and make a comment. If you're new to the channel, please feel free to subscribe. But overall, you should be seeing more from me going forward here in the future, and more consistent also. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.